Here we go. Welcome everybody to my Monet's Garden quick sketch paint along. Somebody is having problems seeing and the audio is not good. I'm sorry, I think that's on your end, and not to worry because I am recording this and I will be putting it on YouTube. So I'm sorry if you're having issues with your Wi-Fi. And the photo, the PDF is somewhere along in the chat, and it's also in the Eventbrite email that you got underneath the Zoom. And then there's a Zoom link, which is how you got here. And then you go under that, and there's the password. I don't know if anybody needed it. And then under that was the PDF. And what I will be doing in my email, oh, thank you, Alina, she posted it again. What I will be doing with my email is sending also some of the extra things that I'm sharing today. Let's see. I have everyone muted because we have a big group and we don't want to get some weird background noise, so I just will keep muting that. Go ahead and put things in the chat, but if I don't respond within a couple minutes, go ahead and unmute and ask. I only have an hour. I may go longer, so you can stay as long as you want, but my goal is to get you through this in about an hour, which is pretty typical for a quick sketch, sometimes even faster. But I've got a few things to share with you. So let's switch over and remove me. There we go. So up in your right hand corner, you've got a view button, and there it says speaker or gallery. And most of you know this, but if you put it on speaker, you should get my screen with my paints, my paper, and there's my PDF, which I'll keep that on the side so you can see it. And I'll talk briefly about my supplies, and then we're going to get right into the drawing. One thing I will show you is you can draw in the bridge, just the bridge, while you're watching with a pencil. You can draw that in if you want. We're going to use a pen for most of the drawing. And I want to show you, thanks to Ed. Ed sent me some pictures. And then I went on and got more of Monet's bridge. Now, if you look at this and this, here's another one. His bridge was a wooden bridge, and it was simpler than the metal bridge that is there now. The bridge has been replaced, but we're more interested in simplifying it and making it look more like Monet's bridge. So when you see all this clutter, it's not important. And that's why I gave you this little part, so you could kind of see how it's just simplified. And that is the only area to me that is a little challenging in this sketch, because most of it's organic shapes. So I'm going to go ahead and I started drawing it in before so I wouldn't get nervous and mess up. But I'm just going to use my pencil and show you those lines. So while I'm talking about a few things, then you can sit there and work on this part if you want. The key thing with quick sketch, and actually with all my paintings, is simplifying. So it's not about putting every little detail in there. So I'm just going to go ahead and draw that in pencil. And that's it. Everything else I'm going to draw in pen. Some things go in front of the bridge some of the flowers and some of the greenery. That way I could draw in my bridge and erase any unnecessary lines. How do we enlarge Cindy's camera view? Go up to view up in the right-hand corner of your Zoom screen and click on speaker. And that will help you see it. Now I'm going to pull this down a little bit too. There we go. So I've got as much on the screen as I can get. Well, the sketch, I'm going to end up putting it in ink later. Right now it's just in pencil because I want to encourage you to draw in pencil. I'll stick this on the side so you can see it there. But it's very simplified from the photograph. And it's actually more like Monet painted it. So you don't have to get too involved in that drawing. Hopefully that helps. Okay, good interaction. This is why I could not do the 10-second, 20-second delay. It was just driving me crazy. Okay, so the Impressionists studied no tan art. And I love learning about this. I learned about it from when I started studying about Georgia O'Keeffe. And no tan is a Japanese harmony of black and white. You're like, okay, well, why? What does that do for me? Well, you can take your image. This is a much simpler Monet painting. If you can take your image and just turn it in to black and white, you can see the shapes better. And it helps you with the painting. Now, when I've been taking a lot of oil painting classes, and opposite of watercolor, you start with dark and you go to light. And so if I were painting this in oils, I could put these darks in and then paint my lights. But with watercolor, you know, I may approach it a little differently. This is mostly about seeing and simplifying. This is a black and white photo, which when I started painting watercolors, I would always make a black and white print of my subject because it helped me see the value changes. And then when I learned about the no tan, it was like, oh, that helps me even break it down even more into simple shapes. And this is the Notanizer app that you can get on your iPhone. I don't know about other phones, but I can take any picture and turn it into black and white or a no tan and play with it. And so that's really handy. Now, some of you have been to Monet's home in Giverny, and I did not appreciate it when I went there 20 years ago. But he had Japanese art all over inside of his home. And I'd always heard, oh, that, you know, the Impressionists like Japanese art and collected it, but I didn't connect the reasoning behind it. And the reasoning is the way they see things. If they get the shapes right, then they can play with the colors. And so that's just something to remember. The Notanizer app looks like this, the yin yang symbol on your phone. And so that's a tip. When I'm on plein air painting, I don't always have my phone. I don't need my phone because I can see this way. Oops, getting some background noise. I see in values, but that takes a while to develop. So I've done this for you. Okay, so that's the Notanizer app. Let's set that aside. And thank you, Ed. and sent me some of these images of Monet's paintings. And I thought, well, that's smart. Let's look at what Monet did. The same bridge that is green.
So it really depends on
turquoise
on
green.
how you
It's painted. He's painted it in blue, and there's white. There's a almost a forest green. Here it's in yellow and green. Okay, here's turquoise. There's so many different colors. And so when we look at this, we're not limited to this. The time of day affects the color. You can go where you want with it. So for instance, here with the blues, he's got some blues in the background. There was one, I like the purples around it. You might go in that direction. This one's simply turquoise with some greens and pinks. So you're not limited by what I do. Let's see, here's back to my sketch. All I did was put in the simplified bridge. If you're working on your sketch, I am going to use a permanent marker, which is what I use for my quick sketch drawings when I'm traveling. Sometimes I'll put in the most challenging part with a pencil and then work it out. But generally I just draw with a pen and let things that go wrong. My wheels aren't perfect. My lines are a little wobbly. That's okay. Here's some simple little quick sketches from Provence. Sometimes I don't finish them when I'm traveling. Let's see. Here's one that was at the cute little flower shop across from me. Now this one I did in pencil. It's a little more specific and I want to get it just right. So the pencil is fine, but if you can just do it, just keep going, working with a pen for your travels, you'll be surprised what you can get out of it. And sketchbooks are not meant to be perfect. They're just meant to be fun and part of your memory. And you'll be surprised what you can do with that. Now, I just kind of remind you, thank you. It will keep the mute on. Sometimes I just go over there and mute it. So if I do that, please don't take it personally. Okay, pens, what do I use? This is a Faber-Castell pen, and I have used these for, I don't know, 15 years. They're great. Recently, and I like the small and fine, extra fine. I like my lines to be pretty fine. This microline set I got off Amazon for $20, and I really like it. It's got a nice smooth line to it and just gives me even more choices for less money. So these are great. What else have I used? Oh, I got water. I spilled water before this. It was just kind of a mess. Micron pen. It's have permanent ink. I like the brown pens. What else do I have here? Sharpie. Sharpie is fine. Here's a Prismacolor. The key is to have a permanent fine point marker. Alaska. All I could get was a Sharpie. And I had a lot of fun using a Sharpie. So wherever you are, the key thing is a nice fine point. This is even thicker than what I use, and permanent marker. If you like that bleeding look, the permanent, non-permanent marker is great too. I'm going to see if I plug this in. There we go. How that does. No, don't do that. Trust. Sorry. Good. You get to see what my studio looks like. It's not very glamorous, but it works. All right, so there's the basics about my pens. I love these Fabre or Dynasty Black Gold 311 brushes available from thebrushguys.com. They run out of them all the time. You have to get on the back order list. Let's see. You have to get them on the back order, and then a couple weeks later, they'll turn up. Oh, I'm sorry, Therese. Let's see. I've got somebody who wants the closed captions, and it's not letting me set that up. Let me see. Video settings. You can get it when it's on YouTube. So we tried to figure that out beforehand. Accessibility. Closed captioning. Yeah, it's turned on. There should be a little more button down below. And if I have to personally, Therese, I will figure that out. Advanced sharing. Yeah, I turned it on beforehand. So I'm sorry it's not letting me redo it because I had it. All right, advanced. And it's not letting me go there either. General. Oh, thank you. Some of you are putting in the information about the brushes on the far right. I have a 0 and a 4. The size 2 is a good one also. Even a double lot. If all you can do is get one, I like the size 4, but the size 2 may be it. So Therese, let's see. She can't hear me. She's so sweet. Yeah, we emailed about that, and I could not figure it out. So I will send you a captioned video. There. I'll have to send Therese that on my own. Okay, my paper is Fabriano cold press. I like the 25% for my oh, thanks, Kate. I use the 25% for sketches because it's smoother. It gives you a smoother line. And let's see, where's the other one? I have the best people that come to my demos. I appreciate your help. This is what I use for most everything else. The 100% cotton. And it is awesome for portraits and everything. I'll use 300 pounds when I'm doing a big important painting. But this is one thing I love about Fabriano is the improved color lifting. It's awesome for that. Kate, you're the best for sharing what I'm saying. Okay, so let's get to the painting. My colors are all Daniel Smith, and I'll say the colors that I use. And let's find a pen and piece of paper. I like having scratch paper. See, I like the size 1, which is a fairly fine line. It gives me a nice, smooth line. The supply list, I did not provide one because I didn't want people having to go out and buy a bunch of stuff. But I will include my supply list. I include it in my newsletters. So here's, here is a fine. It's a little heavier. This is the fine Faber-Castell. This is the 0.01 of the microline. Whatever you use will be fine. And we're going to go ahead and draw. I just want you to feel comfortable using whatever you have, because sometimes you go out and buy a bunch of things and discover it really didn't fit who you are. And I'm used to working with all kinds of different things. Now I've cropped this, and I'm going to use a kneaded eraser to erase the corners. This is tall, and what I've done is shorten it just a little bit. I don't want the bridge to be exactly in the middle. I've moved it down just a little bit, but wherever it is, this is fine. Imagine that you are in Giverny and you've gone into the gardens to paint. First, there we go. I've got my drawing. Now, these flowers to me are so important to the whole painting. And I want to suggest those. So what I'm going to do is just kind of draw the outside shape. And notice that when I draw, I put my pen down and I keep going. That is a key to doing these drawings. And then, oh, let's see. Here's another one. I'm not trying to match exactly where everything lands. I just want to have interesting shapes. And if you can keep your pen down and lift it up when you need to. Here's some plants down in here. I'm going to go ahead and stick those in. Now what's happening, for instance, on this is not as important as these flowers. When I went to college, I was an art major, and I learned about this continuous contour line drawing, and it just changed everything for me. I was always good at drawing. But what happens when you put your pen down and you keep going, you are developing relationships, you're connecting everything instead of having it be separate little pieces. I just want to say thank you so much to Kate for typing in what I'm saying. You're an angel. Okay, so here's one. Your drawing will be different than mine. It doesn't matter. If you sat in a different place at the garden, you'd have a different view anyway. And I'm going to put some more these little flowers over here. It's not going to look just like what you see. In fact, the picture is a little fuzzy. So I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to sort of design the flowers. What's interesting about Monet's garden is you can see, if you look just behind his gardens, there's fields. He created the whole space. And he created it as a beautiful place to paint. I need to go back. Oh, there we go. So now I've got some flowers in the front. And I'm pretty happy with that. And right here, you can see why I drew this in pencil, because now I can erase with a kneaded eraser the pencil lines. So my flowers in front of the bridge, very simple. And I want to draw in the big shapes that I see. The flowers were important to me. Now I'm going for big shapes, kind of like what I saw a little bit in. Why don't I put this here? That might help you break it down. I'm not worried about all the little lily pads. I mostly want to get the big general shapes. Does that work? Yeah, now you can see it.
Cindy, can you please move the paper up higher? Because the chat box keeps covering up what you're drawing on the bottom.
Oh, yeah, my chat box is on the side. So there. Does that
Yeah, for
help?
those of us on iPhones, we can't change it. So thank you.
Okay, I'm glad to know that. So there's some bunches, a bunch of grass. Grass is there. I have a suggestion of some lily pads kind of here. I'm just drawing in the big groupings. And so whether I'm painting, let's see, Monet's garden, or some big rocks in Monument Valley, I look for how can I simplify the shapes. Here's the big, what do you call this? A weeping willow. That kind of comes down. I've got a little bit in the front. Once again, now you can see why I put that bridge down in pencil. And then let's see what's going on back here. I don't need to put in every leaf. I'm just going for the big shapes that I see back there. And oh, I missed that. Missed that plant. That's kind of important. Little buds on it. The last one of these that I did was Monument Valley, which was really easy because it had about one shape. One big shape, and then the rest of it was sky and ground. Whereas this has a lot of different shapes. Okay, where else do I have something? That's pretty good. Maybe something back there. So I've got my foreground, I have some middle ground, I've got some background. Now that I've got my main shapes in and I'm happy with them, I'll take my pen and draw in the bridge. Now, what I do is lift up my pen periodically so I don't have to have a perfect line. It gives it some character. And it helps. Let's see, actually, this is in the front. Well, if you get one in front and one in back, that's fine too. On Smithsonian, they set up the closed captions for me when I work with them automatically. And I still have to figure that out, but we're going to do that for Therese. There, see, now I've got my bridge back there. And it's really the only geometric shape in the whole mix. So sometimes geometric shapes can be a little harder when you're drawing with the pen until you get used to it. It's especially harder when you're demonstrating for everyone and your hand's a little shaky. But that's good because then you get to see that I don't care if my lines are perfect or not. And I do like to double them up. Sometimes that gives them a little dimension. There. So now you can see. Here's my drawing. We're going to add some paint to it. We're a half an hour in. And then I think we'll be okay. There is one, and you can see it on the demo. This is actually a demonstration I did with Daniel's. No, they did it with the Smithsonian. And it was so much fun. And I thought, I want to do that again. One thing that I missed, you can kind of see a bit of a line underneath the bridge. And it just goes from light to dark back in here. It gives you dimension. You don't necessarily know where one ends and the other begins. How many people? Wow, we have 519. That's a record. Let's get ready to paint. Okay, now I need to move this up for iPhone users. This will end up going on YouTube, and my newsletter, I will send out a newsletter with the extra information about the Notanizer app, my supply list, and maybe some of those images of Monet's paintings. Go. Something about water. It's very important. When you're painting with watercolors, you don't want to go directly from the water into the palette. You have too much water on your brush. So what I do is I drag my brush across the edge of my water container. And it seems like it's a minor thing, but it helps me control the amount of water I have. If I go straight into here, I'm going to end up with a lake. And I don't want that much water in my palette. So a real basic thing, but you don't always see it. So I just wanted to point that out. That's what I'm doing with my brush. Colors. Let's look at rose. And I just want to show you a little bit about how I use consistency. This is, I'm using the 0. It's just the one I grabbed. This is a milk consistency. It's kind of your medium value. If I add more water to it, it'll go lighter. And even more water to it, it'll go lighter still. If I use more paint, less water, it goes darker. And while we aren't dealing with values very much in rose, we will be in our greens. And I am using rose for my flowers and probably go to this nice soft herbal tea to coffee consistency. And we'll get those in first. I like to get, oops, I didn't erase my cheater pencil lines. There we go. I like to get my flowers in first. They're kind of the stars of the painting. And see, I'm keeping it fairly light. If you end up with a puddle, like too much water, just squeeze out your brush and it'll suck up the extra water. There you go. That happens to all of us at some point. You don't have to stay in the lines. I'm going to make these buds have some pink. And let's get into this one. This is wet on dry. I rarely use wet on wet when I'm traveling because it takes too long to dry, unless I'm doing a little sky area. And notice how each of these is just a little different. I think I'm going to drop in a little more color at the base of that flower and pull some of that color out. So it's just a little different from the other ones. Here's another. Now you could make your flowers purple or peach, whatever you're excited about. But I'm just working with what I see to keep it simple. Whoops. And once again, remember, I'm keeping it fairly light. Once I get my flowers, then I can see if I'm happy with that design. And I can always add another flower. I kind of feel like these are a little lined up. Let's see. There's 3 of them now. An odd number is kind of nice. I'm kind of feeling, where's that pen? This happens to me. They disappear on my desk. Oh, this will work. I think I'm going to tuck one back there and maybe have one go off the page. There we go. So I'm pretty happy with my flower shapes. They're nice and simple and capture the feeling of the scene. Somebody asked about, here's the Notanizer app. You'll love it. Okay. Now I'm going to go in with my light greens. And for light green, I use a phthalo yellow green as a light green. It's nice and bright. If I look at that though, it's a little too bright. So if I add some gold to it, well, it tones it down a little bit. That's getting a little closer. Maybe you have sap green and yellow. You could always use that. Let's see what happens with my, ooh, that's pretty. Quinacridone gold. It's a little dark, but see if I water it down, it'll go lighter. So now I've got a variety of light greens. You guys are doing great in the chat. Thank you. You're helping me a lot. Okay, so I want to get my light greens in first. And, you know, if you don't have phthalo yellow green, you can use yellow and kind of a turquoisey color or yellow with your blue. Just play around with the colors that you've got. See, that's very similar. And let's get in more of a golden. Here we go. So my paintbrush is going in the direction of the leaves. I don't want to go this way. I want to go up and down. And what if I add a little blue? And I'm keeping it fairly light, kind of that coffee consistency. And I'm just kind of trying to get the same feeling as the weeping willow. If I don't have the right name of a plant, I'm so sorry. I've never been good at that. But that looks pretty good. And let's see. So part of the reason I'm doing this is I'm just learning how to do these bigger events. Just to show you what I do and invite you to paint with me. I like to have some things, you know, free so you can kind of get used to seeing how I teach and paint. And then I also have a lot of online programs. And I'm so not salesy, so I'm just going to say you'll find out more about it in my newsletter. There, so I've got my lights, my light green shapes up in there. And I think I'll put a few more up in there just to fill it in so I don't have white. There we go. That was pretty easy. And let's bring in some of these greens down in here. This brush works great. I can use this one brush for everything. Maybe you have some yellow ochre and you want, or raw sienna. Those can be really nice mixed in with your greens. It's very natural looking. How are we doing? Okay, we're doing good. I have to say, sometimes the drawing takes longer than the painting. You can get the drawing to work. The painting, this is Green Apatite Genuine, and I don't want to add a full dark green, so I'm just mixing it in with the other greens that I have and tucking it in back in here. There's ivy growing up. I think one of the hardest things about this is you're dealing with so many different greens. And part of the reason I love teaching greens is to take away the intimidation of green. Where is this? I think I'll go ahead and put in some of these. So when I started traveling to Europe, I would do full-size paintings. Like I was trying to have an art show or something. and I maybe have one turnout for, this was before I was teaching, but maybe one would turn out because I was trying too hard to capture it all. And the thing about when you're in plein air, you only have a few minutes to capture the light, because within about an hour, it could look completely different. And so I started doing more of these little quick sketches. I'm going to add a little bit of rose, permanent brown to the rose, because this stem over here is just, it's a little darker. Here. Don't need them all to be the same. I think the most challenging thing with this is constantly varying your greens. There's quinacridone gold with my green apatite. And I'm going to get a little bit of that up in here. But then this leaf is lighter. So I'm using my phthalo yellow green. Back in here too. This is the back of the flower. So when we do our traveling workshops, this is more what we're doing. These just fun little quick sketches to capture the feeling of a place rather than a perfect painting. And you'll find they can be very satisfying. I'm just looking for areas like right here, where maybe it's a little lighter, going for the bigger shapes. There we go. And at the end, as long as I have that bridge standing out and the flowers, it's going to work. Great. What is the size of my paper? This is 6 by 8. I really like 6 by 8. And it's just an easy size to work with, especially when I'm demonstrating and when I'm painting on location. It's very comfortable. Right, we're going to put in some, let's get in some of this too. The light green. My newsletter, all of you registered today for this event through Eventbrite. So I have your email and you will get my newsletter. If you don't want to get any more, you just unsubscribe, but I will be putting in this next newsletter my supply list, my this handout, and the link to the video, which will go onto YouTube. And just kind of suggesting where the lily pads are. They don't have to be outlined. Everyone doesn't have to have an outline. Now this is called Japanese footbridge. And Monet's water lilies, which they're quite famous. Yeah, that's working. See, right now I just have almost everything is one value. So what I need to do is build in some value changes. And so we're going to go darker and thicker with our paint. Yeah, the 300-pound, I see conversations going on. The 300-pound paper is amazing to paint on. You can correct and correct and correct. This is green apatite and it's thicker, so it's going in darker back there. And so this way, now I can come around the outer edge of those lights and start to build in the dark. And I'm just going around my bridge. I'll save the bridge for later. Cold press is the paper that I use. So if you can find it, soft press is a dream to work on. I think they've stopped selling it in the United States. I haven't seen it lately. So good luck trying to find that. I bought about 20 sheets of it at $20 a sheet. It's not inexpensive. Now here I can throw in a little bit of color to break up these shapes. What color? Okay, the dark green is just green apatite. It's an awesome earthy color, and I'm just going a little thicker. So it's kind of like the milk consistency right there. So that's what I'm using. I prefer green apatite to sap because it's more of a natural color, natural green. Sap green can be a little bright for me. There, see how that, isn't that fun? Back in here, it's just got some textures and some values happening. I'm going to mix right in here some of that green apatite with my phthalo yellow green and get this shape in here. I have to get it just right. See, look at that. It's meant to be fun and quick and not perfect. I've done plenty of exact paintings. There are some trees back in there. Not even worried about that. I'm just kind of getting in my green shapes. Deciding as I go, do I want it to be a little darker? Just go with thicker paint. I'm using Daniel Smith. Yes, Deb said that. So the amount of paint to water affects your value. That's a big one. Let's see. And that's a real basic that once you get that, it really makes it easier. I know, why did I pick something with so many parts and pieces? Just to show you, here's some permanent brown. I'm mixing some of that in. I want to get pretty dark around this flower. That was permanent brown mixed in with my green. I was saying something and I forgot. Oh, Fabriano had soft press paper 12 months ago. You know, I hear things, so it wasn't from an official source as far as them running out of that soft press. They're not making it anymore. It's just like the Fabriano sketchbooks. I can't find them in the US, but when I go to Europe, I can find them in the art stores there. And we'll always pick them up when I see them. The Canson sketchbooks are fine. For sketchbooks, you don't need the best paper. You need something that is smooth so you can get nice lines. This needs a little bit more color. There we go. Yeah, if you have really rough paper, like I bought a Alvaro. Oh, I love Alvaro Castagnet's paintings, but his sketchbook is a little too rough for me. Okay, I just took that in darker. Now, could I do a better painting? Yeah, I could really fuss with this and get it just right. But the key here is to show you, what if you're there and you just find yourself with a few minutes to paint? This is just to help you see how you could possibly do that and have fun with it. Oh, I'm down to six minutes to the hour. I do often go over just a little bit, but I'm getting there. This is by painting around the bridge, it's helping the bridge to stand out. And I could put that color in first, but I just want to make sure I save that shape so it reads well. Oh. I love what you're sharing in the chat. Thank you. Now at the end of this, we'll hold up our paintings. 513, good. We'll hold up our paintings and take a group shot, and I'll put that in my newsletter. I always love to do that. And if you didn't paint, don't worry, just smile. There, look at that. Isn't that fun? Like I said, my newsletter, you all registered for this event, so you'll get my newsletter, and then you can decide if you want more or not. That's fine. Okay, this is cobalt teal blue, and I think that is a beautiful color for the bridge. You might not have that color. You might have like a Windsor blue, or like I showed you in those other pictures, you can paint it like a cobalt blue, make it really light. The key is we need to make this bridge lighter, stand out from the background. And so I'm going to save some of the light in there, not necessarily go to the edges. Oh, it's almost disappearing. And leave a little bit of light. And that'll help your bridge stand out. It doesn't have to stand out perfectly. It's made it so much easier than trying to paint so super carefully around it. We're trying to follow the Impressionists. They don't have perfect realistic lines. They're a little loose and messy. I like that back there. Okay, down in the water below, I would have a reflection of that bridge. So I'm going to just suggest that. Not trying to match the shape, but this gives you the idea that there's some water. I want my water in the foreground. And you can see in my handout, I put a little more turquoise in it. In fact, I'll just bring this over. Like the turquoise and how it's sort of a turquoise green. This is why captions isn't always the best, because I'll say something and then mid-sentence I'll go in a different direction. So thank you for sticking with me and trying to follow where I'm going. There we go. I think that's kind of fun. So as you're painting and traveling, or maybe you're just looking at your photographs and deciding what to paint, anything goes with Quick Sketch. I do have, I should mention, I have an online program called Quick Sketch. And it's open, I think, for another week or so. We've got, a couple hundred people in there. It's just really fun. They're not too concerned about the lily pads. Not at this point, but I do need to get some color. Mixing my cobalt teal blue in with my green. And we'll fill this area in back over here. And as I look at it on the screen, I'm like, phew, it's okay. It worked fine. If I did this on location, I would be so happy. it's natural as we're painting to look at something and think, oh, I could do so much better if I did it again. But part of the fun of this is just capturing the experience and the memory of being there. Many of you have taken my classes or traveled with me, and things always look better the next day than when you're right in the middle of it. I think that looks okay. Let's see. And it's exactly 1 hour. Not bad. What can I do to make it better? I could really make it worse. At this point, I'm like, okay, time to go get a gelato. I'm going to just barely suggest that there might be some lilies on those lily pads and just sort of break this up a little bit. It's a different shape than what we've got up here. Everything's draping down. This is going across. And this is a little bright. I'm going to break that up. I could easily sit here for another hour and fuss with this, but I'm going to stop because I need to give you back your day. Thank you for joining me for this hour of painting. Hopefully you feel inspired that you could get out and paint. Somebody, how do you keep the basic palette colors pure if you muddy them with another color? For instance, this yellow is dirty. I always get my yellow really dirty. All you have to do is wait till it's dry and you can wipe it out. In an area like this, I kept playing with my colors, my greens, and adding different greens, the turquoise, the blue, a little bit of brown. The reason these colors are pretty clean is because I didn't bring in their complements. So the minute I bring in maybe the red, then I'm starting to make mud. So I try to keep the greens down here, these cool colors down in here, and my warm colors up here. And that helps keep the colors cleaner. So, and when it starts to get muddy in there, I just wipe it out. It's only watercolor paint. It's not oil paint. You could fill up a palette like this and paint for months. So don't worry about wasting paint. I've got to take the tape off the edge. Some of you need to go. I want to do a group picture. I should have just left that on because it's no fun. But then you get to see my nice clean edge when I peel off the tape. Thank you so much for joining me. This was fun. And, you know, I had 2 weeks where I didn't do anything except recover. And so I'm really happy to be back painting again. Oh, see how much better it is when you take the tape off and you have a clean edge. I kind of like it now. And I see some of you have your hands up. So what I like to do is spend a little bit of time answering any questions. And this will all be in the recording. Gosh, I really taped that down, didn't I? All right, there we go. Nice clean edge. It feels fresh. Oh, Linda, you're going to France. Aren't you lucky? Notice how my painting is so much brighter than a photograph. Photographs go really dark. and you can't trust them. You can usually tell a beginner, and then because they go way too dark in their paintings. Manveer, I'm saying your name wrong, draw the outline first, then the watercolor, or watercolor, then outline with a pen. You can go either way. In my sketchbook, I tend to get the drawing in first, and then I come back and add the color in there. But if you draw with a pencil and then paint and then draw with the pen, it takes longer. And when you're traveling, you've got a lot to do and see. And so just get used to drawing with the pen and accepting those lines that go a little wonky, and you'll have fun to it. Fun with it. This is just melamine board with varnish on it. Happy about that. You want a non-porous board? I've been using these. They're much prettier. I get artist panels and tape directly onto those. Gator board is great. Oh, okay, let's do a group photo. Just hold up your painting gallery. Oh, look at all of you. This is so fun. Hold up your painting and smile. I've never had this many people on my screen at once. Or just smile. It's okay if you didn't paint it. Where are you? This is great. You did beautifully. Okay. Ready? 1, 2, 3, smile. And I've got another group. I have 9 pages, so I didn't get everybody all at once. I'm going to do another group. Just smile. You may end up in the picture or not. Okay, get ready. 1, 2, 3, cheese. Awesome. Now I have to figure out how to get back to my page. Where am I? View, speaker. There we go. So I've got that up. And I'll add, there we go. I added me. That was fun. Thank you so much. For everyone of you that came, I've got some of my regulars here, and some of you are new to painting with me or watching me paint. I come from a family of artists, and many of us teach, and it's just, it's what I love. I love to teach. I love to paint and share, all these things that I keep learning about. I love sharing it with you. Let's see, I'm looking at the questions, and I see a couple of you have your hands up, so I'll get to that in just a minute. The tape I use is Dick Blick, and it's a white artist tape. If you buy cheap masking tape, it's going to make a mess. It'll tear your paper. It's not acid free. It leaks, it bleeds. So if you're just doing something super quick, yes, but this Dick Blick artist tape is great. It's kind of expensive, so I only use it with my paintings. I understand if you have to leave. Someone asked about my YouTube classes. So I have online workshops, and I do them with the Smithsonian, University of Utah, French Escapades, Go Terracotta, and I have my own programs. I have a whole wide range of programs, from portraits, quick sketch. Yeah, it's 1-inch tape. Paint Tuscany, watercolors by the sea, and I think I said portraits. Oh, all about watercolors, where I do it monthly. lessons, and there's a lot in here. I try to have something for everyone. If you go to my YouTube account, just search Cindy Briggs, you can find a whole bunch of free lessons on there. What's nice about beginning class for brand new beginners. I think the only one that's a little hard is portraits. It's probably good to try some of the other ones before you go to portraits. I think quick sketch is a great way to start because it just gets you loose to seeing the shapes, simplifying them, and getting some color on there without overthinking it. And my All About Watercolors is fun because I do a simple lesson and a more complex lesson. I will be emailing the YouTube link in my newsletter, hopefully by Monday. Oh, hi, Heather. Heather's here. Yeah, quick sketch is so much fun. I could show you so many, but that was a good example of a live quick sketch. Paint along. Thank goodness. I was worried. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Let's see. You can leave anytime. I love that you came. Thank you. I have a few people with their hands up, and we'll see let's see, Darren. Did you want to ask a question? You need to, no, you're okay. All right. You had your hand up. Sandra, did you want to ask a question? Sandra Lauterbach.
Yes, two questions. One, brush guys, when I called, they said I should try the Water Lily Dynasty brush instead of the black gold.
Yeah,
Should I stick with the black gold, buy the black gold?
yeah, though I bought the Water Lily and it's just it's a little floppy for me.
Okay.
You can try it. I probably have a bazillion brushes.
Okay.
But the point is so important to get a good point.
And then if you know, and I'm more of a beginning watercolor, so is there one particular of your classes you suggest, or
well, all of my programs have my watercolor basics in there where I show you the watercolor consistency and the real basics. I think my quick sketch and
I like it. Yeah.
Quick sketch is really fun because I start with radishes and flowers and a rooster, and basic things, and then you kind of build up.
Okay.
So I think that's a really good one, and I always love All About Watercolors. That'll open again in the spring sometime. But you can try anything for a week and then ask to be canceled if it doesn't feel right to you.
No, I like it, and I like the idea of traveling in quick sketch too. So, okay, I will look that one up. Thank you.
For
Thank you very much.
I appreciate the questions because I don't always think of everything I should talk about when I'm doing these. I'm just praying that the technology works and that you find your way in. And Therese, I'm so sorry I didn't figure out the closed captioning. It should work on YouTube. Kate, I think it was Kate, you're an angel. Thank you for typing in that information for her. And, I really want to serve everyone the best I can and make art attainable, or, something that you feel that you can do, whatever level you're at. Every time you start a new subject, you feel like a beginner. Part of painting now at this point in my life, I try not to paint anything over and over again because I want to go through that struggle in front of you and help you see me help you see how I figure it out while I'm doing it. Now, this one I had painted before, but it's generally, when you take my classes, I don't repeat the same image because that would be boring for me. And I have people coming in all the time at different places in their experience. And if they've come back around, I don't want them to have the same thing over again. So if I ever paint Monet's garden again, it'll be from a different point of view. Oh, thank you, Amy. You made it. That is so sweet. Yeah, any other questions? I'm watching the chat. I think we did pretty good at 1 hour and 15 minutes. Woohoo. Let's see, I'll show you my other backgrounds because I had fun picking them out. This is all Monet's garden. And here's another one. Isn't it beautiful? I mean, he took these these fields are, just wild landscape and turn it into one of the most beautiful places in the world. So if you ever do get a chance to go to Giverny, go into Monet's garden. Is there a chance to ask questions in Quick Sketch? Yes. Oh, that's a great question. I have a Facebook group, which is, I go in there a couple times a week. And then during my live classes like this, I do periodic live paint-alongs, and there's usually about 50 people in there. We do this kind of like this. You can raise your hand. You can unmute yourself anytime and ask questions. So it's very interactive, and that's why I wanted this to be interactive rather than just have you off in a quiet room over on the side. I love seeing your faces and your paintings and hearing from you. Sketchbook. Let's see. I've made sketchbooks from that Fabriano pad. You can, let's see this one. You can go into let me put that picture back up. Let me add spotlight. So I have made sketchbooks and gone in and had a spiral put on here, but I don't always like to do that. So lately, the easiest sketchbook to get is this Canson sketchbook. I think the key thing is 140-pound cold press paper. I think this one is actually on YouTube, that one. And here's poppies. I love my sketchbooks. They're just filled with all kinds of things. Mostly this one is filled with my color charts where I take my yellows, and mix them with my blues, mix them with my reds. And here I've mixed them with neutral tint. I'm a real chart person. I really get into that, and that helps me understand my colors and what I can get out of my palette. My palette, what size is this? When I'm teaching, I usually take a big sketchbook, which is about 11 by 14, so that you can see. And when I'm traveling on my own, I like this smaller size. It's about 7 by 9. So size is personal. No, let's see. When you work in a sketchbook, you don't have a board behind each page. No, I don't. I just paint and sketch directly on the page. And I don't worry about it leaking through. It really doesn't. The 140-pound paper is fine. And do I use a water brush? No, I can't stand those. I find those water brushes, I probably have one somewhere. I find them a little frustrating. What I like is a big ferrule on my paint brushes. See these, even though this is a smaller brush, this is a 0 and this is a 4. Look how long, I think I'm saying the right word, the ferrule is. Because I don't paint with the point very much my brush. I'm painting with the side. And the reason I like this palette is because I can get my brush fully covered with the paint on the side. And that gives me more painting space. And I love the way this holds the paint. So hopefully that helps. I've used
Cindy,
yeah.
can I ask
Mhm.
what your palettes, what are they made of? I have these plastic ones and the paint just beads up and I can't get it mixed.
All you need to do is get a Mr. Clean Magic eraser and scrub on the white plastic.
Okay,
And then your paint will spread out.
thank you.
Yes. Yes, this is a Heritage or Miele watercolor palette. I like that it can close. I've probably been using this for about 10 years. I've used Holbein metal palettes for a while, but they kind of would get bent and lose their shape, and they're expensive. They're like $100 for this size, where this is $20. And it's pretty durable. I haven't broken it. Now I've got everybody muted, so unmute. Yeah, Mr. Clean Magic Eraser, every watercolor artist needs to have that in their toolkit. Is it important to have the ceramic palette? No. The ceramic palette is too heavy to travel with, and actually it's breakable. So what I like is I use this for everything, my portraits, my landscapes. It works for everything, and I can take it with me.
What was the name of the palette again, please?
This is an 18 well Heritage
18 what?
well. There's 18 color wells.
18 well, Heritage. Okay.
Heritage, and these are this is extra colors that I use this lunar earth when I paint Zion. I don't use it all the time, so that's why it's over here. If your paint pops out of your palette, just put some wet paint on the bottom and stick it back in. Sometimes paint will do that. If you don't use it for a while, it'll fall out. A quill brush. Yeah, mine's a quill brush with a Princeton Neptune synthetic. Well, these brushes, this brush is $15. So that's pretty inexpensive. The smaller size is maybe $9 or $10. So I haven't found anything I like for less that works. The Princeton Neptune, I don't know if I have, what's this one? Winsor Newton. I mean, I'll buy other brushes now and then to see if I can get along with it, but these Dynasty black gold brushes from the brushguys.com. Here, I'll type that in, send chat to, oh, it's not letting me do everyone. Oh, there we go. The brushguys.com. Now you'll find me in there with a hat on, and you'll see that some things will be out of stock. all you have to do is get on the back order list. And then when it comes in, order 2. Always be happy that you'll have extras. When these brushes get worn out, you can lengthen their life a little bit by running them under a hot tap. And then that closes up the split ends. As far as my paints go, I suggest select colors that are in my supply list. You can't just buy it as a set. You have to buy each tube separately, and it can get expensive. So what I do is I suggest a 4-color, a 9-color, and the 18 colors. So you just start with your basic colors and then build, rather than trying to get by on cheap paints. And anyway, it's better to learn how to paint with your primaries and then expand from there. Do I use a brush cleaner? No, I just rinse it out with water. You guys are awesome. Thank you for your questions. These are great. I see Linda Savage. Did you have a question? Just unmute. I can't hear you.
You have to unmute.
There you. Here, I'll ask you to unmute. Did that pop up?
There, yes.
Oh, good, good.
Your number 4 brush, this is my number 3 in a different brand. Your number 4 looks so much bigger.
It is. It is. A quill brush is sized differently than a regular brush.
Okay.
So for instance, this is my 4 in a quill, and this is a 10 in a standard watercolor brush.
Okay.
It's much bigger.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, so if you hear 4, you may think, oh, she's using a tiny brush, but it's really not. I was with the Daniel Smith programs, and somehow when they had a changeover in some of their employees, I've kind of been out of the loop. I need to get back in because I do a lot with Daniel Smith. The water lily quill, I don't love it. The 4 colors are for primary colors, and it's in my supply list. And I actually have a color wheel. Where's my color wheel? My 4 dreamy colors that work really well are lemon yellow, quinacridone rose, phthalo blue green shade, or you can use a Windsor blue. Maybe you don't have phthalo blue green shade. And then neutral tint. I have a handout that shows you neutral tint. But when you mix neutral tint, these are all neutral tint added.
Okay.
When you mix neutral tint with your colors, you get a darker version.
Cindy,
Yeah.
when you, the colors you have right there on that page, when you go back and look at them, how do you know what you use to get that color?
Oh, I write them down when I mix them.
I don't see it written down there.
Now, I know these colors.
Okay.
I know these colors after decades.
Wow.
But yeah, I have a chart.
Oh, I see.
What's this one? Oh, this is using some of my colors, but I have a chart of my palette with my supply list. And so then that's how you get to know your colors, is write it down, because I probably didn't know my colors for 3 or 4 years. Plus I was trying to figure out which colors I was supposed to use. I did want to show you, because somebody asked about red. This is red here, mixing primary colors. And I just want you to see when you use red and a regular blue and a warm yellow, the colors aren't as vibrant or as clean. They're nice, but my colors tend to be a little brighter. And so that's why I use the rose. It's like your inkjet printer. You know, if you think about your printer, you have cyan and rose, and or they call it magenta and your yellow. Good questions. Sue, did you have a question? You can unmute.
Yes, I do. With your palette there, do you fill those again when you're emptying them, or do you buy new little blocks of color?
Let's see if I answer this right. I just fill it and I keep filling it as I need more
So
color.
you fill them from a tube or another
Yeah, I
container?
fill them from tubes.
Okay, fair enough. Great, thank you.
Oh, it's backwards. There we go. Yeah, I fill them from tubes and I just added more color right here. And
Yep.
yeah, good question. And you can see the dip in my
Yeah.
piece, the way I go into it.
Right,
There.
that's good to know. Thank you. Thank you.
Let's see, I have some new messages. Please put the Daniel Smith names. That'll be on my supply list. I have a chart that has all the different names. Do you use a flat brush? I don't love flat brushes. I kind of like a cat's tongue brush because then I don't have stripes in my paintings. And this is on my list. It's silver, black velvet. I call it a cat's tongue. They might have a different name. Black gold does have a cat's tongue. I haven't seen them for a while. Let's see.
Mine is called Oval.
Okay, the oval's probably a good name. It's just you can sort of move your brush and your hand around. So when I use a big brush like this, it's usually in a sky,
Okay.
you know, or a big rocky canyon landscape where I want to cover a lot of areas. And I found that flat brushes give me stripes. And this one has a nice little point. But I probably have a dozen flat brushes. Let's see. Thank you for my color. How do you get your colors in charts so even? I draw out. I'm just looking at the questions. Here's one. You can see I draw the lines. I measure, they're about an inch apart. So I draw them out and then I fill them in. Pretty basic. Right there. I'm just looking at, what about MJ Graham? MJ Graham's great. Winsor Newton, Holbein. I just like Daniel Smith. I lived in Seattle for 8 years and then I worked with them probably for over 20 years. And what's nice about their colors is they go around the world and get the sediment from the earth and mix their paints. And then they're super strict about getting them to be color fast so they don't fade. Their paints are 100-year paints. Some colors you can't get that, like alizarin crimson, but they've made permanent alizarin crimson, and that works. That works. So I just trust their paints that they're not going to fade, and they're always consistent. Like I noticed with Winsor Newton, I would buy their lemon yellow and one tube to the next, it wouldn't be the same. It could vary. So that's my little push for Daniel Smith. How do you get rid of hard edges with that brush? Oh, so easy. All you do is, since I'm using Fabriano paper, the paint lifts. And so all you need is, well, hopefully this works. All you need is to get it wet. And because there's that special sizing, I can soften an edge really easily with my regular brush. So I'm not scrubbing with this brush. In fact, I used to have scrubbers, and I've found with Fabriano paper, you don't really need to do that. Our Daniel Smith paints all transparent. Some are more transparent than others. Most of my colors are fairly transparent, except Naples yellow, which had some white in it, and lavender, which I use a lot in my in almost everything. If you paint with it long enough, you'll discover lavender is used quite a bit. This cobalt teal blue has it's not as transparent, but I paint very transparently. Buff titanium has a little bit of white. I'll use that now and then in portraits and old world walls. I keep it on the side because I like to put it in brush to use it. But yeah, I'm more of a transparent, but not a purist when it comes to transparent. My large brush looks like a dagger. Oh, that was this one. The dagger, where is, there's a dagger brush, but when I think of a dagger, I think of this edge.
Okay.
Okay. It's great with that point. And this is a 1/2 inch. I hardly ever use that end of it. I use this end or my fingernails or a credit card. Is watercolor the only medium you use? I do pastels. The problem with pastels is that the powders are not good for you. So I tend not to do it very often. And I do plain air oils. I can't do them in my house, but I'll go plain air and paint oils that way. I think they're fun. They're such a mess though, because you've got to set it all up and then you've got to clean it up and you've got to be super careful when you're traveling, where if I'm traveling with my sketchbook, or I have a separate sheet of paper, I can just close this up, put it in my shoulder bag, and I'm done. And I can go to the next place. I can go shopping, I can go out to eat. I don't have to carry all that stuff. You guys are asking great ones. Do the paints? Interesting. Do the paints with white and mix with transparent paint get more transparent? If you add white, you get more opaque. If you add more water, it can get more transparent. It'll say on your tubes or on a chart, I don't think it says on here, whether it's if it's how transparent it is. I just know the colors I use are pretty transparent. And only time you really have to be concerned with that is if you're entering a transparent watercolor competition. That is the only place I've run into it. The TWSA is picky about having whites in there, but everybody else, you can get away with all kinds of things. You just do what works.
Cindy, can we see a full shot of your finished painting?
Yeah, let me get rid of me. You don't need to see me. Let's see. Stop. Remove spotlight. There we go.
Uh-huh, okay. Oops, okay.
So there's my Monet quick sketch. That was really fun to do with you.
Cindy, could I ask you really quickly, what was the size of your smaller brush that was the black gold?
I think I
Zero?
was using the 0.
Yeah, okay, great, thanks.
And
I've got the 4 and I'd like a smaller one
I
too.
like the 4 too. They're all laying here on my table and I just grabbed that one. That's good to have
Thank you.
different sizes. Do the paints. Let's see, Andred, you're asking a lot about adding white instead of more water.
Yes, I just wanted to know if you're using a purple opaque and a purple transparent. If you mix the two and you want it to be more transparent, will that help the opaque one become more transparent?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or you just add more water to the opaque.
Okay.
And thin it out.
Will it still have the strength then of the color?
Well, it's just like the coffee, tea,
Okay.
milk consistency. You
Okay.
can get pretty strong with opaques, and I tend to use opaques when I need to cover something up.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah, good questions. Let's see, somebody's asking about the brushes. And we still have 100 people here. That's pretty good. Dynasty, black, gold, 311 quill in, I like the 4, the 2, the 0. If you can only get one, get the 4 or the 2. And I use that for 95% of my paintings. So that's for Lois. I'm sorry I missed some of your questions. Yeah, I need to get reconnected with Daniel Smith. I totally was. I was doing videos with them. In fact, you'll find some of my videos are with them. And then they changed some people there and I need to get reconnected. Because they're awesome. I have been promoting Daniel Smith for years. They're great paints. In fact, they gave me a whole bunch of little paint sets that I made videos for him. And they're water-based oils too. I've worked with those. And they're kind of fun if you don't want to deal with regular oils and you want to work with water-based, they have that. Can I have a paint set of your favorite colors? All you need to do is when you get my newsletter, you'll see the list of my colors and you can order the ones that you want. And I don't recommend you buying every color. If you have something similar, use that up and then buy another one. With Daniel Smith program, no, I did. Like I said, I did. And then I will work on that. I will work on going back in there. Do I teach pastel? Rarely do I teach pastel. I usually do it live. And like if I can bring the pastels, I've done them up at the Kimball Art Center and University of Utah because people usually can't afford to go out and buy a set of pastels. I usually want to bring them and then that's expensive for me and they're always a mess and broken by the time I'm done. So I tend not to teach. Yes, the store in Seattle is closed. And that's part of the transitioning. So I need to get back involved. Thank you for coming to my paint along. I really had fun. And it was really great to see so many of your beautiful faces after hiding out in my in my house for a few weeks where I couldn't go anywhere. I hope to see you. I'll be doing another one of these in a month or so, and it'll be a different subject. And then you'll get the information on this fairly soon, probably next week. So thank you, everyone. I think we did pretty good. We stayed under 2 hours. And it was great to see as many of you as I could. Love painting. It's going to be a great year for art and learning and expanding our view of the world. It's a really wonderful thing to do. Thank you, Roxanne and Debbie. I'm still seeing questions. Most of my strokes are with this, these brushes, but I paint a lot on the side. I'm not like this painting with the point. I'm painting the side quite a bit. Thank you, Terry. Thanks, Debbie.
Thank you, Cindy. I'm not on camera, but thank you very much. I have been really frustrated not to be able to get onto your site, and so today was a real pleasure. Thank you.
Oh, good. You always feel like you can email me and ask questions anytime. I'm really kind of on my email too much, but I want to serve you. And sometimes people have technical issues, and I will stick with you until we get it solved. So email me anytime and I will respond as soon as I can. It's Cindy Briggs Art.
Thank you, Cindy.
Oh, thank you. I see Mariella. Hi, Julie. There's my neighbor. Let's see, cindybriggsart@gmail.com. I just put that in the chat. It looks like our numbers are going down, so I can see Judith, Gwen, Kathy, Suzanne, Mariella, Terry, Camille, Leanne, Meg, Heather. Heather, we need to talk. Alice, Linda, Ria, Phyllis, Leslie, Dorothy, Nicole, Sandra, Sandy, Janet. I know I'm missing some of you. Marie, Debbie. Hi, Debbie, Linda, Sandra. I was going to have Heather. Some of you know Heather because she helps me with some of my classes. And I was going to have you come in and help me with the chat and all that. And I thought, no, I don't want to bother. I can do this. And I think we did pretty well. We didn't get a lot of background noise, and everybody was so nice and asked great questions. So happy 2022. And thank you so much for being here. Hi, Meredith. I see you.
Hi. Good to see you. It was really fun.
Oh, good. I'm glad you had fun. We did a lot in under an
came out
hour.
Great.
Good. Thank you. I need to hear that. Because
It was great.
I get nervous. All right, I'm going to go ahead and go and wish you all wonderful painting, and watch for my email.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Bye.
Love to you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you.